afternoon. Thank you for watching Fox Weather. Right now it is 4 o'clock in the east, 1 in the west. I'm Jane Minar in for Ian Oliver, and this is Fox Weather Now. We've got a looming nor'easter that is set to impact this weekend. Look at this bomb cyclone. Yes, we're talking a deepening area of low pressure that is going to bring with it intense wind, intense wave energy, and the risk of coastal flooding from the mid-Atlantic, perhaps up into New England. But there's still a lot that we don't know at this time frame, which, by the way, is not uncommon, right? We are still a good 3+ days out from seeing this storm really begin to evolve. But for the Carolinas, we have growing confidence here that major snow is expected to move in, and we are expecting to see, I think, a pretty significant coastal flooding threat across parts of the Carolinas' Outer Banks. A little farther up the coast, Baltimore, Maryland, look at the icing over of the Potomac. And then as we continue north on the I-95 corridor, New York City, that's where things start to get a little gray in what we are going to see happen. But in the Carolinas, we could see scenes just like this. Now, of course, this was from October. Hurricane season. At least 16 oceanfront homes collapsed last year as high winds and rough seas battered the coast. This from a series of hurricanes, powerful storms that tracked hundreds of miles away from the coast, but all that wave energy impacting these vulnerable homes and structures. We watched this in real time, right? And so the message here is that when we covered that as a top headline for weeks on Fox Weather through the end of the summer into the beginning of fall, that was not just a hurricane season story. In fact, it's a coastal story that lingers all year long and can once again be heightened with the threat of nor'easters. And we have that very threat unfolding as we head into Saturday and Sunday. This area of low pressure expected to rapidly strengthen off the mid-Atlantic coast. With that, it's going to spread snow, it's going to spread wind and coastal impacts along the eastern shores of the Carolinas and up into parts of the Delmarva. Confidence for our northeast impacts. They do remain low at this point in time, and it has a lot to do with ultimately where this area of low pressure, where our storm tracks as it works its way up to the northeast. But let's zero in on what we do know, the mid-Atlantic threats. Powerful low expected to form just a stone's throw away from the Outer Banks. We're talking probably about, 50 to 100 miles, if not just a touch more than that away. Very different from the hundreds of miles away our hurricanes were, and we saw the impact of that, right? So snow and wind, that's expected to start on Saturday, and depending on where the placement of this low ultimately sets up, that's going to give us an indication of where those heavy snow bands are going to arrive. And it looks like it's going to be somewhere close to the I-95 corridor, Raleigh, and then we take it east. But we talk about the risk of weather impact, right? Well, the minor impacts, a few inconveniences, maybe a couple slowdowns and delays, that's pretty widespread for the eastern Carolinas up into the Delmarva, Washington, D.C., even on the cusp of seeing some minor impacts. Now, you see here, this is our scale of coloring, unlikely to high, and we're still kind of on the low impact for the major interstates westbound. Where we are expecting to see high impact for at least minor to moderate inconveniences and impacts will be the coastal plain, really through the sand hills of North Carolina, Kill Devil Hills, Cape Hatteras, once we get out onto the Outer Banks, up into eastern Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia Beach. It wasn't too long ago, was it 2 years ago, that we had a big snow there on the beaches. So we are expecting to see impact here. And then as we continue into the major impact category, considerable disruptions, avoiding travel if at all possible, that becoming rather unlikely at this point. But I do think for cities like Raleigh, and then we take it east for North Carolina, that could be tweaked depending on how this storm continues to come together in the next few days. Here's our snow forecast. The reason I say that is because Raleigh, we're expecting 8 to 12 inches of snow as we get through Saturday and Sunday. That would definitely bring us some major impacts to the city. Charlotte on the cusp of about 5 to 8 inches. And this is going to be straight up through Virginia Beach and Norfolk. So, I mean, a couple years that we see back to back where we get some pretty impactful snow. But here's this wind forecast too. As this low continues to deepen and strengthen, we are expecting to see a corridor of wind that could be topping near hurricane force wind gusts and maybe even sustained winds that could be closer to 50, 60 miles an hour. That would be reserved for the immediate coastline, but at that same time, as this low continues to deepen and strengthen, it's going to kick up a lot of wave energy. And so that's why we have some concerns here of coastal flooding, of definitely some erosion to our beaches. Now, the thing is, once we get into Sunday, this low as it begins to pull away. The reason why I think most of our coastal flood threat is going to come through Saturday from the ocean is because that's where the wind direction sits. As this low pulls away, it's really going to be the back bays that we'll have to watch through Sunday as that wind shifts offshore. But the wave energy, look at that. I mean, that's going to shut down shipping routes, boats, absolutely, as we head into the start of the week.